Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, December the 4th, and it has been an okay day. The temperatures have been not too bad because we've been going through a chilly spell. I'm waiting to catch up with Cheryl from Happy Handcraft Studio and see how her temperature drink shelf, no, she's not, she's doing temperature bookcase, see how that's coming because there are going to be some colder colors coming in now. So there was some sun, and of course as I was pulling things together to start recording the video, that's of course when it starts to gray over. So even though there's a window over here, it's not doing us any good. So oh well, here I am. Ring lights, great creations. This is a channel about cross-stitching and the stitching that I've done over the past week. So if you are a new viewer, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me. And as always, very, very grateful to those of you who come in and check in on my progress regularly and comment. So that's always great. So happy to see you guys again. All right. Okay. I have a couple of sets of notes here because I always forget things. To those of you that are celebrating Advent, happy second Sunday of Advent. This is week 2 of Advent, so 2 more. So we are 3 weeks away from Christmas. We are, because this is Sunday, Christmas this year falls on a Sunday, we are exactly 21 days away from Christmas. So if you celebrate Christmas, I hope you're in your process for getting ready for Christmas. It's different for everybody, so I have no comment on any of that stuff. I know what my process is for getting ready for Christmas, and I am way, way behind anyway. My shopping for Christmas is in great shape. My getting the house ready for Christmas is not in great shape, but that's a whole other kettle of fish, and that's not what this channel is about. And wow, I don't know what's wrong with my bangs today, but they're... As I've said, the things you learn about your hair on Flosstube. Anyway, a little bit from the commentary on last week's video. Linda in Leeds, I'm really sorry. I have not responded to your email, but you're on my to-do list for today. She had commented on last week's video about the Canadian team playing in the World Cup for soccer, and that she was cheering for Canada. And she felt good about that because they weren't in the same bracket as England. Now, I'm not following closely. I follow when they sort of cover it on the news and sort of tell us what the results are. Anyway, but I'm not actively following it. So anyway, she'll know way better than I will about what the status of that is. But she's also participating in the Cliffside Stitches SAL, and we're going to talk about that as we get to the topic for this week. Couple of people commented on their success on the Black Friday shopping events, but apparently most of their success was non-stitching related items. So pros and cons to that approach. It all depends on what your goals for Black Friday shopping, what your goals for Black Friday shopping were. That could be really successful or it could be not so successful. All right. And thank you to everybody who had, there were lots of lovely comments about Sampler of Stitches and lots of lovely comments about Vimy Ridge, but we're going to sort of get into that as we go through the things that I've stitched on this week. My plans for stitching this week, as I suspected, as I was recording the video last week, although I had a plan for this week, even as I was recording last week, you know I was going, I don't know that my plan is going to work out. I think I'm going to change it. The answer is, oh boy, did I change it. Yep, didn't follow my plan. The plans that I had at the beginning of recording the video are absolutely not how my week worked out. Wow, that didn't come out right. Happy Sunday. Anywho, so what did I work on? Well, I'm going to do this anyway, but as you've seen from the picture that comes along with this, this is a little bit of anyway, not exactly necessary. So on Sunday last week, I of course was working on my Sampler of Stitches by the Drawn Thread. This is a series of 9 charts, which I've been doing as a stitch along, hosted by Sarah the Stitchin Mommy. And as I say every week, and I'm going to say it one more time, I am so, so, so very grateful to her for wanting to stitch on this and wanting to do a SAL, because I went me, 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 me. And it's worked out very well for me. So I worked on it on Sunday, and then I said, oh, let's just get it done. So there is, big board. There is my sampler of stitches, fully complete. So I finished off the very bottom block. This is supposed to take me, I was supposed to be finishing this tonight, but I just went get it done. So there was a Y leaf stitch on this side and a zigzag leaf stitch over here. And then I filled in my initials and put in the 2022. The entertaining thing for you, for any of you who've watched last week's video as well, as I was stitching the 2022, I started stitching it the way that I instructed on last week's video. And as I got to the very last two, I went, oh, I wonder if I got that right. Oh, I wonder if I lied to everybody on last week's video. Maybe I got this, I didn't get it wrong. It is, the instructions I gave last week, if you're putting 2022 in, are correct. Start the two, just one thread in from the border, and it will be exactly centered within that block. So it is December the 4th, and I didn't complete it today, but I did complete it last week. I completed it actually in November. So it actually didn't make it into the month of December. I sat down and I just finished it. So Dee left a comment, and she said she's been working on this as well, and she's been keeping up with me, which is great. She's smart. She's been letting me forge on a little bit ahead, so in case I tripped over anything, I could do the splat on my face and then she wouldn't have to do it. So she's a really smart lady. Let everybody go a little on ahead of you so you can find all the problems. But she said she was using my color palette. So Dee, thank you very much. I'm glad that you enjoyed this color palette as well. I am thrilled with my color choices. I think it has worked out very, very well. You'll laugh. So I finished, of course, the stitching down here. And then I had to go back, and when I took it off of the scroll rods, because I had to come back up and attach the moon, these pearl beads. What else did I have to attach? This button. There are beads here in the center of the flowers in that basket. And the dragonfly, this heart, which it's on there, but I need to take it off and it's not centered correctly. And I haven't done that yet. I'm still saying it's done. I just need to take that off and recenter it. So I'll do that tonight when I get to my stitching. But yeah, there it is. It's complete. So Sarah, since this is the last time that I'm going to be showing sampler of stitches until it turns into a fully finished object, I just want to say again, thank you so much for wanting to do this as a stitch along. This would not have hit my 5-year plan if it hadn't been for you. So I've loved working on it. I am so thrilled that it was an unexpected addition to my plan for 2023. It's ended up being a finish, which is also fantastic. So Sarah, thank you for wanting to stitch on this, because it inspired me to stitch on this as well. And I love the result. I love the result. So there you go. That's the end of sampler of stitches. All 9 charts are complete. I think when I was looking at my spreadsheet, I think there are 133 specialty stitches that are included in this series of charts. Some I've enjoyed, some I have not enjoyed, which we've talked about. I will say, I did say that I was going to talk about a couple of the things that sort of once you stand back and look at it, surprisingly, and it's only ironic because it's in the initials of my name. So my favorite letter out of all of the ones that I've done on the alphabet is R. I can't tell you why, but that one, that's my favorite letter out of all of them. But I will say X. As I said, I was catching up with Jeanette Douglas, and we were looking at it, and I had this stitch, and she was like, "What specialty stitch is that?" And I said, "It's just regular cross stitches." And she was like, "It's very effective, right? It's using the colors from the palette in this entire piece. It's just regular cross stitches making X." And I do think it is stunning. So yes, I've been looking at this, you know, of course, because we're in the bottom half as I've been completing it, going like, she's right? It's just regular cross stitch. No fancy stitches, no specialty anythings, and it's very, very effective the way it was designed. So yeah, there you go. Sampler of stitches using my color palette for the colors using Soie d'Alger. All of the Soie d'Alger numbers are in the notes section down below, and I stitched this on a 32 count Silvery Moon Lugana. There you go. Sampler of stitches is complete. All right. So that took more stitching time than I was expecting. I was slow on a little bit of it. And then, of course, I took it off the scroll rods and had to get those other things stitched on. So my time for Vimy Ridge went way down. Way, way, way down. I got an embarrassing limited amount of stitching on Vimy Ridge. So my plan for Vimy Ridge didn't work out at all well for me. So what did I... Look at that pathetic addition. I started working on the second band of those maple leaves. 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. Not much, and they don't even have their stems in because the stems are back stitching, and I like to do it all anyway. I don't like doing them individually. I like to do them all at the end. So it's a pathetic number of stitches technically that went into this. Anyway, so my plan for Vimy Ridge did not work out at all well. I forgot to hold up my picture. This is what it's supposed to look like. I was really hoping to make a way bigger dent on this. So I'm still here, like, so probably, actually, once I got off the video last week, I did go back in to mark up RXP. It says I'm actually about 2/3 of the way through it. So I think I said I was at 58% last week. Anyway, having done 4 out of 10, I don't think that percentage will have moved much, but anyway. I didn't make nearly as much progress on this as I was hoping, but I did remember, yes, it's like, remember all those things I talked about last week, and I said I wasn't going to provide you with misinformation, so I was going to wait until this week so I could tell you what the real information was. So I remembered to bring the real information. So I talked about, so the trenches, because I had stitched the trenches, which was this band here, and I was talking about the underground tunnel system that they had. So the grounds are still honeycombed with wartime tunnels closed off for public safety. A portion of the Grange subway, originally 1,230 meters long, still exists to be viewed. Roughly 250 meters of this underground communication tunnel and some of its chambers and connecting dugouts have been preserved. there are Canadian interpretive guides who provide tours of this subterranean feature. So the ground that the Vimy Ridge Memorial on is Canadian. It was gifted by France to Canada for their participation in the Vimy Ridge battle. And since we haven't made it to the next band, that information will come when we talk about that. The other thing that I was going to show is I do have, I actually have a Vimy Ridge pin that I picked up when I was in France. So this is, again, so this is the pin that I picked up. They encourage you to wear this on the anniversary of Vimy Ridge, which is April the 9th. So it's got, of course, the monument here at the top and sort of with a maple leaf behind it. And as we discussed when I was doing earlier, these are the colors of the 4 Canadian regiments that participated in that battle. For the Battle of Vimy Ridge, there were 100,000 Canadian men that were fighting in that particular battle, and the casualty count for that one day on that battle was 3,953 lives were lost of Canadian men, which to this day remains the greatest single casualty day in Canada's history as a nation. So yeah, there's a few more tidbits about Vimy Ridge, a little bit of Canadian history for you. Which of course brings us to December the 1st, when everything changes over. So I of course started my, man, when you move locations, everything gets thrown out of whack. So I started the last of my cottages of the month. Man, this is not coming to me easily today. So this is by Country Cottage Needleworks. This is the December cottage. This is the last of the 12 cottages. So I worked on it for December 1st and 2nd. So I got a little bit of progress. So worked on that roof line, and then was coming down here and doing the mortar that's going to end up being around those stones in the bottom. So not too bad in terms of progress. Never as much as I'm hoping for, but I have a few things to tackle on the home front these days. And then on Saturday, I decided to do a project which was an add-on into my plan for the month of December. And it is a start and finish, and it's almost fully finished. Almost fully finished. There's one step left to go, and it's the easiest step out of all of them. So this is, I worked on this is a mini Christmas wreath. This is stitched on 32 count opalescent linen. I am turning this into a needle minder. So the reason why it's not a fully finished object is because I don't have the magnet on the back. But all I need to do is glue that on. I've got the magnets in the house. I have the E6000 glue in the house. I just need to get it onto the back. I had a little bit of a fight getting it in here. This is now, so this was originally in the World of Cross Stitching magazine issue 275, which was December 2018. This is now available as a free download, and I will put a link to this if you're interested in this. You will be totally shocked to hear that my version of this uses none of the called for colors. None, not one. So for the wreath, I used DMC 699 and 701. The called for is just, it's a slightly lighter. They called for 700 and 702. So I darkened the wreath slightly. I used gold metallic blending filament for the bow. Now here's the chuckle. After I got it into this button, which was a bit of a fight, but I got it in there, I was looking at the pattern, getting that information about where it was originally published, and realized I forgot the back stitching on the bow. Oh well, it doesn't matter. You can tell it's a bow, no problem. And then I used a little bit of Krynic, red and blue Krynic for the baubles on the wreath. So that was my Saturday project. So I stitched all of it and I put it into the button. Like I said, getting it into the button was a fight. Anyway. But yeah, so that was my unexpected ad, and I wanted to do it. So this is going to be a needle minder that I use on my stitching this month, which I will have stitched myself. And that is all the stitching that I did this week. Not too bad. Not as much as I hoped, but it was a decent week. So as we are in a new month, this of course is the time that I take for that period of the program, which I like to call nerding with numbers. Now that I'm using Markup RXP and I'm tracking my stitching, I'm tracking the number of stitches that I'm doing for those projects which are in Markup RXP, which did not include sampler of stitches. I'm going to give you my stats for my stitching in November. So the total number of projects that I worked on was 8. It was a big month in terms of total number of stitches done. So I did 9,911 stitches over the course of this month, which was awesome. I had 2 new starts this month, which was the November Cottage and Vimy Ridge. And my number of chart finishes and my number of project finishes, which sometimes they're not the same number, but in this case, they are exactly identical, was 4. I had 4 finishes for this month. I finished the Tiny Marie Antoinette Gate. I finished the November Cottage. I finished Musical Christmas, and I finished Sampler of Stitches. So I feel like it, you know, at the end of the month, I think that's a pretty productive month. I was feeling pretty good about those numbers. 4 finishes, that's pretty good, right? All right. So that is my nerding with numbers. Let's get into Stashquisitions. So I picked up some stuff from Traditional Stitches. I'm just looking at what I've got here and the best way to show you these things. Okay, I'm going to start with these. So I picked up some Gentle Arts Weeks Dye Works threads. I don't have anything good to show these against. So this is Chrysanthemum. This is, I think these are 2 skeins of Cayenne. Yeah, 2 skeins of Cayenne, and this is Whiskey. This is for a project in my 2023. So this is for a project that I have in 2023 that I am always looking at it going like, I don't know. I am not fully committed to that project. I'm sort of kitting it up, sort of debating it, but every time I look at it, I go, you should do this in September. And I go, I don't know. And then I picked up, these are 2 colors from Silken Gatherer, or Thread Gatherer Silken Colors. This is Old Lace, and this is Colonial Tint. Wow, with the ring light, that's not looking good. I don't know that I'm holding it up. So they're both very pale. This one is sort of, this one has more yellow in it, believe it or not. And then that one is Colonial Tint. This has, man, it's really blowing it out. Has sort of peachy, tan, and cream variegation to it. These are 2 colors that are called for that Cricut collection chart that I showed a number of weeks ago called Rest and Be Thankful. I was very excited to get the Colonial Tint because this is no longer being produced. But Traditional Stitches did have a couple of skeins of it in stock. I picked up one. So if you have that Cricut collection, rest and be thankful, and you have not kitted up the specialty, the silks that are called for in that, and you are looking for Colonial tint, give Traditional Stitches a call. They may still have one in stock for you. So I was very excited when they said they had it in stock, and I went, me, that's for me. All right, I picked up some fabric because I've been waiting. So this is 38 count Sea Serpent linen by Legacy Linen by Access Commodities, because you know I always like a good gray. So I saw this on their website as a new color that was coming out, so I was waiting for it to come to Traditional Stitches. I'm looking at this saying, why is this not folding up correctly? It's like a map, right? Anyway, there we go. Ah, I got it. There it is, folded up. So it was in, so when I went to pick up those threads, I, of course, took a gander around the store, saw that it had arrived, had a look at it, and liked it as a gray. So I got that. So that is 38 count Sea Serpent Legacy Linen from Access Commodities. That's just for stash, but it was gray and I liked it. It's a darker gray. And then the other piece that I picked up was, I'm not going to take this out of the bag. This is a tall half. So that means it is 18 inches wide by 55 inches long of 32 count opalescent white Lugana. This is for a specific project, which is a couple of years down the road in the 5-year plan for getting started. It's going to take a while for it to get completed. I needed the 55 inches long for this project. But the starting point for this does occur in a December in, it's either 2024 or 2027. Anyway, check back later on that. Something about that doesn't ring true about when that is. But anyway, it's for a very specific project. And it came about because I was looking, I was going through some stuff in my stash, and I was looking at this one particular project, and I have all the charts for it, and I have all the thread for it, and I went, you need to get the fabric for that. And I went, so I was going to get that and order it so I can just package it up together and go, it's ready to go. All right, the other items, this is just going to come off as totally random. These are just a random assortment of beads. These are the beads that I was missing. This is some treasures that I need for Bellatrix. So I just picked up this one, 3004. Needs a total of, wait for it, 4 packages of that particular color of beads. The light's blowing it out. It's more purple than it's showing on camera. And this is the last one. So those are the rest of the beads that I need for Bellatrix. Because, I'm trying to do that kick where get the specialty things when you buy the chart. So I was really grateful when I opened up and went, man, there's a lot of stuff that you need for this. I'm glad that I've got it. And then while I was there, because the Magnificas are slowly being discontinued, some of them are already gone, I had a look at the Magnificas that were in stock at Traditional Stitches, and even though I don't have charts that specifically call for them, These are clearly my colors. There's gold, a couple of blues, and this is sort of a plummy red color. So I bought those and went, one way or another, I'll figure out ways to use them, whether they're called for in a chart or not. But at least if they show up in a chart that I've got, I won't freak out. All right, so those are my Stashquisitions for this week. I'm looking around going, which brings us to the topic. Let's talk about SALS. Now, I've got another thing. Let's talk about SALS. Why are we talking about SALS this week? Well, because I finished a SAL. Sampler of Stitches, as I said at the beginning of this year, was the very first time that I was actively going to be participating in a SAL. I am really good about buying charts for SALs. I'm really good about watching online, whether, well, these days it's more on Instagram than Facebook, looking at people working on SALs and making great progress and looking at all the color different options that people are using for different things. And I love watching all that stuff. I'm not necessarily good about wanting to participate. So this year is unique for me because I started the year wanting to participate in a SAL, and I have kept up with it. That is a verging on a miracle that I've actually kept up with it. You know, the concept really worked for me. As long as I get one letter done every 2 weeks, which I said at the beginning of this year sounded something that was very, very feasible for me to do. I've only generally, other than the restart, generally devoted my Sunday of stitching to working on that project. Okay, other than last week when I just decided to go ahead and finish the whole thing. So generally it was being done by working on it on Sundays for a year. And I think as a concept, sorry, I'm just moving things around here, trying to make sure nothing falls over. As a concept, the fact that this is the proof of the concept that working on something, as long as you're working on it regularly, you can get stuff done. I don't feel like working on Sampler of Stitches cut like dramatically into my goals for this year and what I had originally planned for 2022. Like I don't think it made a huge dent in what I was planning for 2022 in the original plan. And I have completed 9 charts out of my stash, and an entire project has been finished that was an add-on to the original plan. So from a stitch along, this has been incredibly productive and incredibly successful for me. The second SAL that I participated in was the Tiny Marie Antoinette Gate, which started, originally the concept for that SAL was work on your chatelaines on Wednesdays. And so that's when I did use Wednesdays to work on Tiny Marie Antoinette Gate. As soon as Tiny Marie Antoinette Gate was completed, I stopped doing chatelaines on Wednesdays, which is fine for me. Again, there are things to be learned from all of these things. Sampler Stitches worked out fantastically well for me. Working on Tiny Marie Antoinette did not make me want to stitch on my polar chatelaine every Wednesday because I have other projects that I was wanting to work on. Now, so the lesson from, so I worked on 2 SALs this year. To me, the lesson is when I hear about a SAL and I go, me, I want to be in that SAL. I want to work on that project. I want to do this. That's when I'm going to be successful. The chatelaine, it's not that I didn't want to do the chatelaine SAL. I came into the chatelaine SAL and went, we'll try this. I wasn't like, oh my goodness, this is the best idea ever. I think I can totally accomplish this. Now I got Tiny Marie Antoinette Gate done. I started the project. I finished the project. I worked on it on Wednesdays. But in terms of adjusting what my stitching is going to look like, that one is not going to stick. You know, why? I think the only difference between that and Sampler of Stitches is because at the very beginning, even from the concept, I went, I want to do this. So that's my lesson on SALS for me, is like, I've been very successful to date about looking at SALS going, I'm never going to stitch that, love the chart, buy the chart. You know, even Sampler of Stitches was being, originally when it came out, it was being done as a class at one of my local needlework shops. And I had friends who were participating in the class. I looked at it and I went, I'm not adding this into my calendar for 12 reasons. I mean, I liked it. I bought the charts. I had bought the charts when they came out, but I didn't join the class and I didn't stitch it and it didn't work for me. The concept that Sarah came up with, which I think she was borrowing from one of the Facebook groups, worked for me. And that's how I got it done. You know, I laugh because I've got two friends who were working on Sampler of Stitches when it originally came out. And to date, neither one of them has finished it. Anyway, so there's things to be learned from SALS. You need to know what ideas resonate with you and whether or not even participating in a SAL works for you. Most of the SALs don't work for me. Linda from Leeds is what I'm calling her. She is from Leeds, or she tells me she's from Leeds, was commenting that, you know, she was working on the Cliffside Stitches SAL, which I love the concept of that SAL. Am I actively participating in it? No. Am I actively downloading the squares as they're coming out? Yes, I am. And I would like to work on it. We're probably years away from me getting to a point where I want to work on it. But I've got the charts. One of Linda's comments was, she's participating in it. She's picked her own color palette, which, you know, I'm a big supporter of. Find a palette that works for you. And she's been keeping up to date with it. But she wishes she could work ahead, but she's having to wait for the releases to come out, which I hear you on that. She's like, she's learned that she doesn't do well where she can't have all of it available to her at one time, which I get her on that. Now, usually for me, that's where you go. It's the mystery SALs. You know, there are lots of mystery SALs that are going on from a variety of designers. I hate those. It does not work for me. There are lots of people who really enjoy working on a mystery SAL. That is not me. I don't like it at all. For a couple of reasons. One, because I don't know what the whole thing looks like. And I don't want to get through half of a SAL that in some cases I'm devoting up to a year of stitching, working on as releases come out, and going, I like the first half and that first half was awesome, but wow, that, like, the last half of this thing is not working for me for whatever reason, whether it's aspects of the design or 27 things that can come up. And I have seen SALs like that where you're like, I like this part, but not this part or that part, or, you know, 12 other things. So I'm with the category of people who go, I don't like a mystery SAL. I don't like a mystery SAL. Just tell me what the thing is going to look like at the end, and then I will decide. You know, but there are a lot of stitchers out there who really enjoy a good mystery SAL. You know, Cheryl from Happy Handcraft Studio, she's done lots of the Fox and Rabbit, their stitch-alongs, right? She starts the year and she does not know what it looks like. How she comes up with the very successful palettes that she does without knowing what the total design looks like is befuddling to me. But anyway, she can pull it off. I know I can't. Anyway, I also enjoy the fact that if you wait 5 years, like, there are a huge number of people who will have done a variety of things, and you get to go online and look at what everybody's done and then kind of go, oh my goodness, that's the one that I really love. And someone will have figured it all out for me. And there you go. You know, so it was interesting to me, you know, I've worked on 2 SALs this year. One, hugely successful, and you'll probably hear me talking about it more even though Sampler Stitch is done, you're probably going to hear me talking about it more because I go, it was a very successful stitch along for me. You know, for a variety of reasons. It worked for me and I got a project done and I'm thrilled with the result. Tiny Marie Antoinette did that stitch along, got the finish done, and I went, okay. You know, if that one came up again, I think I've learned where I go, if I don't get the like, me, I want to join that SAL, it's probably not the right time for me to do the SAL. It's probably the right time for me to, you know, download the charts if they're free, but not participate in the SAL. I feel like the light is making me it's going all on my screen. Sometimes I'm looking very yellow and then I'm going back to a normal color. So it'll be very interesting to see what this video looks like at the end. Anyway, but where are my notes on this? Okay. So the other thing that I want to point out is that there are a variety of SALs. You know I'm good for a SAL that is free. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about free SALs that are coming to an end, or free SALs that are currently occurring that you maybe need to know about. So Fox and Rabbit is a big one. They do a free stitch along every year. They've been doing it for years. And I've really enjoyed watching them. I have never participated in them because it's a mystery stitch along. So I can't participate because I don't know what the end result is. So I don't know how to pick my colors. So I can't come up with a palette. So I can't start. Right? But I download them. They're free to download. Now, after a certain number of years, they take them down as free, but they still are available as a paid pattern. Just like my line about having a sale is better than a not sale, getting a free chart is always better than having to pay for the same thing. It's not that they're not worth anything. I don't necessarily like saying that, but the genetic Scottish DNA running through the Scottish genes running through my DNA kick in and go, free is always better. So if you're interested in the Fox and Rabbit stitch alongs that are still currently free, I will be putting a link to that in the notes section down below. Check them out. I'm behind on their video, so I don't know if they have said which one, if they're planning on taking any of them down and turning them into a paid pattern, but you might as well have a look at all of the ones that are currently available and downloading the ones you like. I know that there was one year that they had one where I didn't necessarily like all of the design, but I downloaded the parts of the design. It was one of the years where it was like bands of patterns. So I downloaded the bands that I liked. I actually didn't download the ones where I was like, I'm never going to want to stitch that. So I've got them sitting on my computer, you know, waiting for me to do things with. The 2022 SAL, I believe that the last part of that SAL should be available now. Now I have downloaded all of the parts. It's been really interesting to me to watch people work on that project over the course of this year. It is a big project, so I haven't looked at what the December one is, but it's big. So we'll see how that one works out. They have said that they are planning on doing another one in 2023. So of course I will be monitoring the situation in 2023 and downloading the ones that I like. Okay, we've already talked about Cliffside Stitches. That one started, I want to say, 2.5 months ago. I want to say like we're at maybe part 10. I think 10 should be out by now. There's 36 squares. They have actually given you all of the versions of these charts so that you can do it in 4 colors. They've also designed it so that you can do it in 2 colors. Of course, you can do it as a monochromatic, whether with a solid color or with a variegated. They're releasing one square a week, and there's going to be a total of 36 squares for cross stitch. They also have one for black work. I am not downloading the black work one. I am downloading the cross stitching one. It's completely free. So far, I've enjoyed all of the designs. I can't wait to see what all of them look like. I'm enjoying watching people posting their progress on that one because everybody's doing it in these different colorways, and I love seeing all of those different colorways. I have no idea what I would do if I were doing it, but I'm downloading the charts while they are free and downloading them while they're accessible. Okay, Jeanette Douglas Designs, those mini bouquets that she has been releasing all year. The last one, the December bouquet, is now out. They are free until December 31st. So you have until the end of this month to download all 12 of those designs. Once we hit the stroke of midnight on December 31st, they're going away. They will no longer be available. I cannot speak to whether or not she's going to release them as a chart or what the longer term plans are for those ones, but they are available right now for free. They're lovely. I was looking on Instagram, Rose Heck, who's a great stitcher who lives in sort of in the greater area around where I live. She finished it. It looks lovely. It looks lovely. I haven't stitched it yet. I am planning on stitching it. Not exactly sure when, but I'm downloading the charts while they're free. There's 12 charts for you to download, one for each month, and the December one is now out. All right, the Victoria Sampler on her Facebook group, there is a stitch along. This one, I was going to print out a picture, which I haven't done. I started off downloading the charts. I haven't been really good about keeping up with it because there's a lot of cats in it. I was okay with a little bit of cat. I don't know if I want cats in all of mine. But if you're in that Facebook group and you are interested in that, I think you have until the end of December to download the parts to that particular cell. So just like the cell that they did last year, which Sarah the Stitchin Mommy, she's working on that one right now. So it was free for all of 2021, which is when I downloaded it. You can still get the patterns from the Victoria Sampler, but they have turned into a paid. You need to pay for the individual parts. So free on the Facebook group was a more economical option. So there's one for the current year that is also running, and again, as far as I know, you have until the end of December to download those ones from the Victoria Sampler Facebook group, and I will put a link to that Facebook group in the notes section down below. The last one that I want to talk about, of course, is because it is the second Sunday in Advent. We're going to see what my skills are like. So History Stickmooster is having an Advent SAL, which they also did in 2021. So there are 4 parts to this SAL. They are being released 1 per week for Advent. So the first part came out last week. I was talking to somebody and I misinformed them. I said to them that you could either get it from History Stickmooster or you could get it in the Silks app, which only works on Apple products. It is not available in the Silk app. It is only available from their website, so I will be putting a link to it in the notes section down below. Here is what that SAL is going to look, what that project is going to look like in totality. So they did put this on their Instagram account. This was probably November 27th, they put this on their Instagram account so you could see what the whole thing was going to look like, which I appreciated because I don't like a mystery SAL. Anyway, so I did download last week's, so I downloaded part 1 last week. As this video is being processed and uploaded, I of course will be downloading part 2. I did not read up on how long the parts are going to be available for, my answer is I don't care. I'm going to make sure I'm downloading them every Sunday so that I have that entire design available to me for free. You do have to put it into your cart. You do have to sort of provide all of your information as if you were ordering online. But of course, when you get to the pay part of their cart process, you don't have to provide any information because you owe them nothing. You know, but I did have to put in my name, my address, all that kind of stuff. I had to put all of that in there so I could get the free download. But I certainly got the free download, and I'm very happy about it because I do like that pattern. I think it's lovely. I don't know that I would necessarily do it in these colors, but I think it's lovely. So part 2 should be available as of right now. And again, part 3 and part 4 will be coming out on the next 2 Sundays for Advent. So you should have all 4 parts available before Christmas in case you're a very speedy stitcher and can get it all stitched up. That's not me. I'm downloading. I'm not stitching. That's my best part of a SAL is that I download them. All right. So those are some of the free SALs that are going on. They're, you know, like I say, Fox and Rabbit, as far as I know, is planning on doing another free SAL in 2023. Modern Folk Embroidery tends to do a stitch along. It's a year-long stitch along. They have for 2023. Jacob has shown the picture of what the whole design is going to look like. So in case you don't like a mystery, you can see what that looks like. That is, the Modern Folk Embroidery ones are one where you do have to pay for the charts. There's nothing wrong with that. Sampler stitches, I had to pay for the charts. I had no problem. I had no problem paying for those charts. I'm glad I had them in my stash. I'm glad that they've now been stitched up. Anyway, so there you go. So those are some of the free SALs that are currently ongoing. If any of you know of other free SALs that people need to be aware of, particularly if they are sort of going away at the end of the year, can you throw those down in a comment in the comment section down below so that we can all see if we're missing out on something? Because you know I would hate to miss out on a good free SAL. There's lots of free charts that have been coming out, like Hello from Liz Matthews. I think I got one in her newsletter. Whispered by the Wind sent one out in her newsletter. I am not going to put links to those because they are links that are from the newsletter. You do need to sign up for the newsletters to get those. If you have designers where you enjoy their work, sign up for their newsletter. In the land of cross-stitching, I'm not worried about these designers taking my email address and selling it to someone. Usually because I figure they just don't have the time or energy to try to figure out what to do with selling my email address. Anyway, I'm not worried about giving my email address to them. And I want the newsletters with the free charts in them. So I sign up for them. All right, now I'm starting to ramble. We're coming up on just under an hour, so let's wrap this up because it's Christmas time. We've all got things to do. I need to get working on, you know, getting the rest of my house pulled together. As always, thinking of the people of the Ukraine, there's lots of people to be thinking about, certainly at this time of year for a wide variety of reasons. All sorts of things going on around the world. But as always, thinking of the people of the Ukraine. I hope that you're staying safe. Safety first, safety first, safety first. Certainly where I am, the temperatures have been, you know, chilly. And here's a quick aside. I always laugh. I have friends who laugh at me because when I go to take out my bins, whether it's the recycling bin for pickup or garbage or whatever, I always dress as if I'm going to fall down and knock myself out and not going to be discovered for hours. There's a big long story behind it, which I'm not going to tell on this particular one because it's somewhat depressing. It was a story that occurred to a friend of my father's, and I heard it as a teenager, and it has stuck with me. So even if all I'm doing is rolling out my garbage bin, I am dressed as if something disastrous is going to happen. I also am sort of going like, if you're prepared for the worst, that's generally when it doesn't necessarily happen. So anyway, safety first, safety first, safety first. Wherever you are, whatever your circumstances are, let's be safe, particularly this time of year. You know, there's crazy drivers out there. You just never know. Safety first. It's always better to arrive late than to not arrive at all. Anyway, I don't want to be negative, but safety first, safety first, safety first. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy, and I hope that you're finding some time to do your stitching, and that your stitching is bringing you enjoyment, hopefully peace, although that's maybe a little bit worrisome if you're struggling trying to get that Christmas gift finished in time. Contentment, creativity, all those good things. And as always, thank you for stopping by. If you've got any comments, questions, topics you'd like me to address, love to hear from you in the comment section down below. I almost forgot this. Our next Stitching at the Library, I did get it booked. There should be an email going out to those of you who signed up to be on the distribution list for that, but we will be stitching at the Signal Hill Library on Saturday, December the 17th from 9:30 to 12:30. If you're in the greater Calgary area and you're interested, just stop on by. You don't necessarily have to let me know you're coming in advance. If you're in the area and you want to come stitch with us, come join a lovely group of stitchers at the Signal Hill Library. The details for that are in the notes section down below. With that, thanks for stopping by. Take care.